my dental. I'm excited that Sean and Janice and Kelly are here to
You mean Casey?
and Casey, I'm sorry, to have a conversation around recruiting through agents. So can you spotlight us so I can see
I will.
them? Sean, Casey, Janice, let's start with Casey. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi, I'm Casey Clark, Colorado Springs and now Littleton. Super duper exciting. Have been with Keller Williams 13 of my 18 years. No, yeah, around there. So really just blessed to be within this company and surrounded by amazing leaders and agents and business owners.
Love it. Janice.
So I've been with Keller Williams since I started my career back in 2009. So I've been in this very same office for almost 15 years. And I'm the team lead here at KWDTC.
Awesome. And famous Sean. Oh, by the way, Janice and Sean are famous. Both Janice and Sean were mentioned yesterday on KW International's growth call. Janice for her top 20 recruiting showing for the month of January. Did you see your name, Janice?
I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was quelling for you. And Sean was interviewed yesterday for his play on getting guests to come to family reunion. Sean, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'll trade places with Janice and I'll take the 21 to give her the 18 family reunion. Yeah, so I've been this will be my 29th year in real estate, I think, in October. So I got licensed in 94. I was at Keller Williams from 2009 to 2014. I took a little stint, took some time off. During that time, I was a team leader and a bold coach. And then I came back to Keller Williams about two years now and entered the team leader role in last June. So, yeah.
So what I want to talk about today was how you guys work with agents and help agents grow their profit share tree. Obviously, we're a company that has a belief system, the Y4C2Ts, and the S in the Y4C2Ts says that we're going to be successful through people and not around them. And I think of profit share through agents as a great example of this. When I became a team leader in 2012, I quickly learned that the best way to be successful as a team leader is to find a group of supporters and work with them. Janice, let's start with you. How do you work with agents to help them grow their profit share?
I think the best time to work with agents is when they initially join Keller Williams and you put them through the onboarding process. And as long as your onboarding process is smooth and successful, they are super, super excited about Keller Williams. That's the best time to ask them, who else do you know that needs to be a part of our family? And I've had great success with some of the agents that have been just super excited about being here. And then within a week, they've given me other names of other agents to bring on board, to at least talk to bring on board.
Yeah. Sean, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm that big picture thinker, so my brain's always 10 years ahead of today. And so when I'm meeting with somebody, I'm always in my mind thinking of what their future could be. Now, unfortunately, sometimes that's a reflection of what I want for them and not what they want. But by doing that and staying focused on that, I think what I do effectively is paint a picture of where they could grow within the company, and share those opportunities up front.
Yeah. Casey, how about you?
I think it's so much of that the agent understands what profit share is and the legacy that it can create, and sharing the stories of how it's changed people's lives, and through that process of identifying what their goals are and how that you can help build that legacy, hold them accountable. It's another item on their GPS. For the ones that are truly like, oh my goodness, let me change my life. I've heard these stories. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah. you said something that's near and dear to my heart. Do you advise agents, Casey, to make profit share and make additions to their profit share tree a goal on their GPS? I mean, is that part of your practice?
Absolutely. And then you hold them accountable to what their goal is on the GPS. And I mean, magic starts happening, and then you can start celebrating within the office, oh my goodness, look at this, and the text messages. I think that's such wins with our agents of every month when profit share comes out that our teams personally texting them, oh my goodness, congrats,
Yeah.
and then you hear the stories back of like, oh my goodness, I was struggling and something happened in my life, so if we're not intentional about hearing the stories and sharing that,
Yeah.
it's just sitting over there in a la land that people aren't really understanding what an abundance and grateful,
Yeah.
amazing thing that it is.
Janice, is that something you do too? I mean, do you talk to your top agents during your consultations and ask them to consider profit share as a piece of the business plan?
Absolutely. And when we talk about vision boards and when we set goals, we talk about vision boards. What do you see? What do you want? Put it on your vision board. And, I also tell them that millionaires have at least 7 streams of income, and real estate is one, and profit share is another, and investments or whatever. But yeah, I think also the visual of what can profit share do to change your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Sean, you got anything to add
You
on
guys
that?
see all of that? Our
Oh.
opportunity map.
Yeah.
It has profit share on there. That is all over through our offices. It'll be going all over, and profit share is an item on there. How are we building 6-figure businesses through this? What do you want your world to look like? It's
Yeah.
the foundation of building a business within KW.
Absolutely. Sean, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'm learning here. This is great. I should do both of those things. That's really good.
Yeah.
I think,
Oh,
I don't
go
know. I think I get more tactile with it and maybe a little bit more strategic. So like when I think of like coaching agents to build their downlines, and like the most effective ways that I've always found to build the downline is by talking earlier about creating opportunity for people. And I think I have 5 team leaders in my downline, 2 OPs. And that was strategic, like as I'm meeting with people and I'm talking to them, I'm saying, hey, there's these other opportunities that are available at Keller Williams that are beyond just selling real estate. And I see you as this person. Like I even have a team lead. I have team leaders in other states that I've been able to kind of move and nudge into those positions. So I need to get better at these other things though that Janice and Casey are talking about with my agents that don't have interest in growing into leadership. So that's an area I could grow.
Yeah. I know for me, when I work with people on building their GPS, building their income streams, that kind of stuff, I think about like, you start with a goal. How much money do you want to make from this stream? You divide that goal of income by the number of cappers required to create that much profit share. And then you multiply that number by 4, knowing that a good team leader like Sean and Casey and Janice is going to probably strike out 75% of the time. So I do think that one of the challenges agents have in building profit share trees is they think if they want $2,000 a year, they need to give 1 name to their team leader. Well, really, that's going to be like 4 names.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't always work. So we may set the goal, but we don't build the funnel to the level where the funnel actually gives you the result, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about events. Sean, you were just, as I was bragging on you a minute ago, you were just featured on the growth call because of the way you handle events. Can you speak to the importance of events from the perspective of an agent wanting to build profit share?
Well, I think the power of an event is, and this came from one of the people I was bringing over. she said, you know, when I met you, you taught me about Keller Williams without recruiting me. And that was kind of a light bulb that turned on for me, is how do we give the information without closing the trap on them, right? Or making them feel like we're going to close the trap on them. And events are a great opportunity for people to come learn about Keller Williams and change some of those previous beliefs that they have. So my commitment in our office, our commitment to the events is 100%. So what we do is, if any team member brings a guest, we cover their cost of their event and their guest costs. And that's just an expense that we have. And then we really encourage almost a 1-for-1. So for every one person that's going from our office, we want to have a guest. So we're kind of that equal balance. And then there's the intentionality behind when you get to the event that it's a production. Like we spend 3 days planning our preparation for how we're going to manage the guests, how we're going to present ourselves. We print custom t-shirts, all kinds of craziness, because we want to stand out at those events.
Yeah,
So it's a very intentional process.
sure. Casey, what would you add to that?
Which is like they see outside, instead of the hyperlocal, here's the office, they're seeing so much more of the huge experience. Like we're going to Austin typically once a month. We're attending Enforce, the regional events, our office training. It creates a whole different like wow-ness to the people, that they really feel and embrace what KW is all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love the blue t-shirt, Sean.
Blue t-shirts are smart. It's a really good color.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What's he pulling out next?
Oh, just wait for family reunion. We're printing new ones.
Janice, what would you add to that?
I would say that events are magical. It's an opportunity to see Keller Williams through their eyes and really start forming a relationship with them, and then letting the event recruit them. I had one agent, he was a capper, he did 7 million. It took 3 events for him to really see the full value of Keller Williams and know that it was genuine, that this really is what Keller Williams is all about. And now he has brought us 3 other recruits in addition to himself. So to me, it's a great opportunity to build that relationship and that bond with that person, and just let the event do the work for you.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I think a lot of times people think they have to say the right thing and do the right thing in order to get people to join KW. And yet, if the market center holds great events, and the region holds great events, and KWRI holds great events, really, like if you just followed a pattern, which is whenever I walk into the office for good training, I'm not talking about contracts class, like contracts class is super important, but let's just assume that most brokerages have contracts class. Whenever I go into my market center though, for like the big training, I'm gonna always bring a guest to sit next to me. And while we're sitting there, I'm gonna say, you know, I don't know if you'd be interested in this, but next month, we've got KW Wealth doing, you know, their thing, or whatever. Kelly Sutter would know the next event for KW Colorado, but we've got this thing coming next month. Why don't you attend that with me? So you start off with your local event, which is free, and then you go to a regional event, which everybody in Colorado should know that you can bring a guest to a Colorado event, with the exception of a couple, and talk to your team leader about that. But you can bring a guest for free most of the time. And then you take, when you're sitting in the regional event, you lean over to them and you say, I can probably get you a ticket to Mega Camp, which is our Gary Keller sponsored, not sponsored, but led event in August. And by the time you've done that, like, you haven't had to say anything about why they should join Keller Williams, right? I mean, I think the greatest recruiter at Keller Williams for 2024 will most likely be Tony Robbins. Like, I think he'll close more people than anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to sit there for 90 minutes. He's going to do his thing. It's costing us an absolute fortune. And people are gonna say, holy crap, this is great stuff. I might as well join because my office didn't do that.
Yeah.
But it really starts with you looking at your local calendar and saying, you know, what's Sean doing next week? What's Janice doing in February? What's Casey got planned for us? Bringing them there first, because you don't ask somebody to marry you on the first date, right? You start with a lunch, then you move on to dinner and drinks, and then you ask them to, well, then you know, you ask for the hand. So it's important to kind of layer these things on, right?
Yeah. Well said.
I
So,
just have to say the number one recruiter for 2024 is going to be amazing Annika on here. I'm sorry. I'm putting that out there. She is amazing. And so you find those people as well and help them build theirs. And it's amazing. Just like Sean, you've gotten amazing team leaders in yours and OPs. It's like, who are you helping? But I'm going to put Annika on it. I see
absolutely.
her on there. So I wanted to call her out.
I think there's another point too, Russ, to one of the questions you asked earlier about building, you know, helping agents build their downline. And I think one of the things is don't be afraid to put people in the right office too. Like, I think sometimes we get so hyper focused on getting people into our individual offices that we overlook the big picture. And, you know, I have friends that, you know, I've put in other offices or introduced to other offices. Janice and I have a guest coming to family reunion that we're co-sponsoring and co-holding her hand. And I introduced her to Janice because I just knew in the long run, it's probably a better fit for her to be at the DTC office than my office. And I think we overlook that sometimes when we get too hyper-focused.
Yeah. So Janice, what does a good agent partner look like to you? I mean, like, what would be the avatar of like the perfect agent who is wanting to grow profit share? Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, it's someone first that understands the value of profit share and believes in profit share. Someone who has the culture of Keller Williams that truly understands the Y4C2Ts. Someone that truly is a great representative of our company. Someone who is passionate about helping other agents succeed and passionate about the training and getting involved in the market center, and not afraid to share all of the values that we share here.
Yeah, love that. Sean,
Well,
what
it
would you?
sounds like they got to be perfect. Jeez. Guess I don't qualify.
Right. What would you add to that, or what would you say? What's your spin on it?
Well, here's what I'd say. Like when I joined Keller Williams, you know, they were interviewing me as a team leader and they went through the Y4C2Ts and the first thing said win, win, or no deal. And I said, yeah, that's not me. I'm going to win and everybody else is going to lose. And Kay Bellhouse was the OP at the time. She patted me on the back. She says, you'll learn, you'll come around. So, for me, it's, you know, just helping somebody get to their greatness for whatever that is that they're looking for. And if building their profit share or building their team or giving them an opportunity to become a team leader, become an OP, become an investor in an office, then I'm going to encourage that. I'm going to push that forward. And, you know, I think the hard part about saying like, you know, they got to look a certain way or smell a certain way or walk a certain way. You know, I just don't do that. Like I let people become, you know, and, you know, you are a product of the environment you're in. And I was born and raised at RE/MAX, right? I mean, I got my awards right there on the wall. That's not how it was there. So I think it's hard to say that they have to be a certain way in order to do something, right?
No.
So I just push back a little bit on that because that's a tough one for me.
I always say, judge us not by who we hire, judge us by who sticks around.
Yeah.
I hired one of the top agents in St. Louis years ago, and quite frankly, the investors in my market center came to me, like they had a, what do you call that?
Intervention?
They had an intervention with me, and the intervention was, why would I hire this guy who will go unnamed? And he was a $28 million producer, and he was cocky, and he had a bad attitude, and everybody hated him. And by the way, in Missouri, $28 million is a lot of money, and at these prices. And today, this guy is #1 producer in our community. For Keller Williams. He's in Gary's top 100. And is a cultural fit for the company. Like I don't think we actually changed him. I think we just gave him space to be the kind of person that he really was, and figured out that he wasn't a bad guy. And he's a diehard KW person. I mean, he's making me buy him a steak at family reunion next week. So, which I
Nice.
always have to do. Casey, what are your thoughts?
Or the perfect agent. I think it's just that person that also is open to conversation. And I remember just a couple weeks ago, I had someone reach out and say, well, why isn't this person in my downline? They ended up at a different KW office and that kind of stuff. And it's how, like, we don't get them all, but being of abundance and like, okay, well, I'll do a better job.
Yeah.
I'll follow up. And that is a relationship with our agents of building a downline. Because
Yeah.
with internet recruiting and all of that stuff out there, it's how are we in a relationship together? Who stays in contact the most is going to win.
Yeah.
You know,
Any pet peeves that you all have about like the way our agents, the way
Don't
our
just say-
agents try to grow their profit share, but it's just
Yeah.
not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
Casey, you're gonna say something?
like if you're just don't just give me the name you've never talked to them. You know,
Oh, yeah.
here's the #1 agent and I'm like, oh, okay, so how was your last conversation? Are they expecting my phone call? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's like when the person at BNI shows up and they're like, oh, here's a for sale by owner. And you're like, well, what do you know about 'em? Well, I just drove by their house and wrote down the number. Well, I could have done that. Like, that's not a lead.
Yeah.
What do you want them to do, Casey?
I want them to be teeing it off that they're expecting my phone call. I can do the work and please don't throw up, because if you have that throw up phone call and they're like so excited, they're like, oh my goodness, they're expecting your call. They're going to meet with you. They're ready to sign. And then all of a sudden they're not answering my phone call because the agent just threw up all over them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gross. What else? Pet peeves. Sean, Janice?
Yeah, Casey, you nailed it on that one. I remember probably in '98, I got a call from a gentleman who was working for Brian Smith at the time. Brian Smith was the team leader, and he called me, and I was a Remax agent. And he called me and he says, oh man, you got to come meet this guy. His name's Brian Smith. He's super cool. He's at this company called Keller Williams. And he goes, and you know, the cap is 18. And the best part is every time you sell something, I'm going to make money. And I was like, click.
Like, yeah.
So, yeah, that's the worst. That's the worst. Like,
But then Brian talked you into it, right?
no, I didn't
wasn't?
join for 10 years later.
Interesting.
9 years later. Yeah. So, but I did join under the same guy. So
Yeah.
funny enough. No, that's not true. I joined and then I recruited him back. So now that I think about it, but, yeah, I mean, the right setup, I think is growth and opportunity, right? Like, hey, I want you to meet this person because they can help you grow your business so they can create opportunity for you. Don't talk profit share, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
not the reason to join a company.
Yeah.
That's just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, people don't love that. They don't. Yeah, I agree. This is about selling real estate and being at a place where you can sell real estate.
Right.
Janice, any thoughts?
I do. I appreciate it when my agents tell me something good, like a co-op agent. I appreciate when my agents tell me something that they did well, what the other agent did well, and maybe where's an opportunity for that agent to grow. Not that I'm going to throw that in that agent's face, but it gives me a little bit of background of how do they do business and where could we be a prescription for maybe where some of their shortcomings may be. So I need to know a little bit about that other agent so I can have an intelligent conversation with them
Right.
and open doors.
Yeah, you want the background.
Yeah.
Can I share with you guys what I tell my ALC every year when we start fresh?
Yeah.
I say, and you guys correct me if you disagree, and it's perfectly fine if you do. I say, ALC members, and I would say this to any KW person. What we don't want you to do is go out recruiting. We want you working with families, getting listings, helping buyers, closing houses. the reason we don't want you to recruit is because the Sean's, Casey's, Janice's, and Russ's of this world, we are professionally trained recruiters, among other things, and we know how to do it. So don't go out recruiting for us. The biggest pet peeve I have is when an agent walks up to me and says, Russ, I'm working on someone. It's going to be great. And I'll say to them, who is it? And they're like, well, I can't tell you because I'm working on them. I'm like, stop working on them. Like, that's my job. That's why they pay me not really, I can't say big bucks, but you know, the bucks.
The
I
buck.
say we want you to do two things. Be an awesome agent and let us know when the other agent is awesome. And make an intro. And number two, always attend a class at Keller Williams with an agent sitting next to you. I learned that day one at KW. So here's my quick KW story about events. About February 10th of 2010, I walked into a Keller Williams office. I was a laydown. I walked in, I had 10 licenses in my briefcase, and I said to them, I said to the front desk, I said, the guy that wrote this book, is he the same Keller on the sign out there? And she said, yeah. And I said, who do I talk to about joining? And I walked into the team leader's office and she said, hi, and we did our intros, and she said, would you like to go to this thing called Family Reunion next on Sunday? And I think this was a Tuesday. And I said, I have 4 kids. I have to check with my wife. And I texted her and she said, yeah. And so I went, but I joined on Thursday, even before the event, because I was so flattered that somebody would invite me to such a thing. And then I called my wife from New Orleans and said, oh my gosh, did we make the right decision? Anyway, but ever since that day, I never go to an event without a guest. Like, why bother? Especially when market centers will pay the tuition and often the room and board and flight.
Russ,
I
last
say
year.
to agents, be a great agent and always have someone sitting next to you.
I love that.
Any other comments or thoughts or questions from the audience here? Janice, any last thoughts?
Well, I remember last family reunion, we took an independent brokerage, and sure enough, they signed like a week within coming back from family reunion. Those events are magical.
Yeah.
Really are magical.
Absolutely.
My last thought on it is, make it fun. Like, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, as team leaders and, even as ALC and ALC members, MCAs, productivity coaches, we put so much pressure on ourselves about recruiting, and then all of a sudden it becomes this tense conversation, like we're like in this, sweating negotiation, and if it's not fun, they're not going to want to join. And nobody, people, real estate, I say this all the time, real estate's a lonely career. Most of the time you're in a car negotiating, talking to other people. You don't have a lot of camaraderie anymore, especially with Zoom and the lack of participation in the offices. So it's super lonely. So it's got to be a fun, the whole process should be fun from start to finish.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important that we introduce agents. When we take a guest, introduce them to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Let them find the people that they connect with, introduce them so that they don't feel, like you said, Sean, like an island, because they're one person that doesn't know anybody or know anything about our culture. So I'm sure it's very intimidating, very overwhelming. So introduce them to people.
Most agents are kind of high I, or they have some S in them. And when they walk into a room, they're trying to figure out if they fit in. So to your point, Janice, the more people you can introduce them to, the more they start to fit in. Here's my closing line. Almost every recruiting appointment I've ever done has this line in it. Hey, Janice, based on the conversation we just had, I got to tell you, I really feel like you'd be a great fit for Keller Williams. Would it make sense for us to look at the paperwork that you'll sign when you make your ultimate decision to join Keller Williams? I say that line because I'm choosing to put into their brain that they're already a great fit. because of their I and their S. So I love that strategy, and introduce them to people, let them, even if they're introverted, they still want to feel like they might be a good fit around here, because that's what everyone's wondering. We're just wondering if people like me. Casey, what did you want to add?
Just come play with us, you know, have it fun, and let's go change lives together.
Yeah. You guys all said essentially, I think, the same thing in one area, and that is, I think we do make too big of a deal out of this. We had 50 guests, I think it was, at our last social media event. Like, what realtor isn't curious right now about TikTok and AI and Reels and I don't know, all that other stuff. And like, you're talking to an agent that you're doing a deal with, or that just showed your listing, and you say, hey, we got this event coming up next week. It's on social media, or we've got this thing on investing in real estate, or we've got this thing in our local office on Instagram. Would you like to come? Like, that's it. It's not really hard. If they say no, you're not going to go crawl right away and cry. I mean, it's easy. Any questions?
Well, I'd just like to add to that. Oh, the other thing that we hyper focus on is making sure that we always have access. So one of the things is, like, we say you've earned the right to attend this event through your production or for whatever reason. So you've earned this ticket. This is not a recruiting event. And to the point earlier is, don't close the trap too early or you freak them out, because if they don't sign on this one, we're going to continue to invite them to events. And my goal is that when I call, they answer. Not that when I call, they sign, because it's the long game, right? Like, you get too hyper focused, you burn the bridge, and they end up at Coldwell Banker, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like dating. Nobody wants to say yes to the person that's overly anxious about it, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you. See you at family reunion.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.